Hello and blessings to you from Fire and Hammer Evangelism Ministry. I hope this short message finds you doing very well and having many opportunities to share the gospel with your friends and loved ones. Some of you may already be familiar with Living Waters on YouTube with Ray Comfort. Excellent videos. I have some of them right here on this website. If you slide over to my playlist, you can watch quite a few of them. But what I want to tell you about is this. Remember the initials WDJD. What did Jesus do? Easy to remember because of those silly little bracelets people used to wear, WWJD, a while back. But WDJD, what did Jesus do? And this is an easy acronym to help us keep track while we are presenting the gospel to someone. The W, you can walk up to someone and say, "Hi there. Would you consider yourself to be a good person?" And of course, everyone is going to say, "Yes, I do this, I do that, I go to church, I serve at the soup line at the homeless shelter, I do all of these great things, I am such a good person." Followed up by the D. Well, let me ask you this. Do you consistently and always obey the 10 Commandments? And then take them down the 10 Commandments, explain what each one is, and ask them, have they followed it? Have you ever told a lie? Have you ever had a lustful thought in your heart for someone besides your own spouse? Have you ever stubbed your toe, hit your thumb with a hammer, and shouted out God's name as a cuss word? You see, these are lying, these are adultery, these are blasphemy, and all will be eternally punished in hell by God come Judgment Day. And once we've been through that, we can go to the J, the judgment. Let's just say God does judge you by the 10 Commandments, which at the very least you have to admit is a possibility even if you don't believe these things, right? So if God does judge you by his 10 Commandments, would you, based on what we already found out, be guilty or innocent? And they would have to say, well, under the 10 Commandments, I would have to be guilty at the judgment. And finally, the D. Does this concern you? Does this give you any reason to think twice about your life and what you're doing with it? And then we can come back to what did Jesus do? Because we've already established the guilt of sin. We've already established the judgment under the 10 Commandments. We've already established that God must condemn all sin to eternal hell. But what did Jesus do? He lived the perfectly obedient life that you have not lived. And after that, he submitted himself to be punished and to be executed, to die horribly on the cross, taking upon himself the guilt that we all have earned up for ourselves under God's judgment, to take upon himself the death and the punishment that you and I all deserve. And after dying on the cross, as our actual literal replacement, taking himself God's judgment and punishment that we deserve, our replacement. After this, he rose up from the grave 3 days later, alive and victorious forever, so that we ourselves, instead of being found guilty at the judgment, can be called as innocent as Jesus himself was. And we can, because of that, not be punished in hell, but instead be rewarded with everlasting life in glory forever. So it's very simple. WDJD. An easy way to remember the sequence of the conversation and to keep track of where you are and to not be led off on a whole bunch of rabbit trails. Because as we've spoken about in a previous video here, people will ask you all sorts of questions. Oh, where did Cain get his wife? And things like that. They don't care. They don't want to know. All they want is for you to stop talking about the gospel and get sidetracked onto some other issue. So don't let that happen. What did Jesus do? Bless you. Have a great day.